Hello, good evening. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, audible, sir.
Oh, okay. Hello, Amit, are you there? Amit,
Hello everyone, good evening. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, you're audible. Yes.
Okay, so we will start in a couple of minutes. I think we are waiting for the guests to join. Good evening, ma'am. Kalpesh sir, I think Sangeeta ma'am is here.
Yes, yes. Yes, yeah. Good evening, ma'am. Thank you. Welcome. Thank you.
Good evening, sir.
Thank you for joining, ma'am. We'll be starting in a couple of minutes. Participants are
Yeah,
joining.
Fine.
Okay, sir.
I'm ready.
Yeah. I think we can start. Amit, over to you.
Okay, sir. Dr. Sangeeta ma'am, should we begin? Sangeeta ma'am, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. With your permission, we would like to begin. Thank you. So good evening, everyone. This is day 4 of this capacity building program on POSH Act. And we have come halfway through of this capacity, 1 week capacity building program. And for today, we have with us Dr. Sangeeta Roy ma'am. She is an assistant professor of law at Government Center of Legal Education, Hooghly Mohsin College campus in West Bengal. She is there. Uh, she has been the presiding officer and member of the Internal Complaint Committee constituted at Hooghly Mohsin College, and as well as the presiding officer of the Internal Complaints Committee at Government Center of Legal Education. She has been awarded PhD in Human Rights of the Persons with Disability in the Indian legal system, with a special reference to the conditions in North Bengal. She has been bestowed with a scholarship by the International Institute of Human Rights in France. Ma'am has more than 18 years of teaching experience, and she has been and has acted as the external member of various institution, organization, and universities. And she has held more than 50 sessions on POSH at government and as well as private sector. So today, ma'am is going to take session on understanding POSH Act, which is a need of an hour, and therefore, without wasting any further time, I request ma'am to deliver and enlighten all of us. Over to you.
Thank you, Amit. Thank you so much. Thank you, Kalpesh sir, for having me here. I had a talk with Kalpesh sir since the last 2 days. I mean, on deciding as to what all should I cover, because many of the things which I had thought that I would discuss have already been covered by the resource persons on day 1 to day 3. So today, let me just share the screen and then I'll tell you. Just give me a minute. Just a minute. Are the slides visible?
No, ma'am, not yet.
Not yet? Okay, just let me
Yeah,
see.
I
There's
just
some
made you
glitch
presenter.
I
Now you able to do. I just made you presenter.
know. Just a minute. I don't know. Here we go. Uh, is it visible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes?
But the PPT,
PPT is not visible.
need-
PPT.
PPT is not visible.
नहीं PPT आप open करिए and then
we can see your screen, but the PPT is not there.
you have to select PPT.
PPT, why is it not visible? Now is it visible?
Yes, ma'am. Perfect.
Yes?
Yes, ma'am. We can see it.
Yes,
Okay, fine. Okay. So basically, I will be speaking about understanding the POSH Act. So whatever has been covered from day 1 to day 3, what I will be concentrating upon are the finer nuances, because through my sessions, which I have conducted in various organizations, I have seen that there is a lot of misinterpretation and there's a lot of confusion regarding the applicability of the act, as well as what should be the proper meaning in a particular scenario. So what I would be doing today is I will explain those I'll try to rather explain those nitty gritties of the act, and where what should be interpreted as what. So my point is more on, as the topic says, understanding the POSH Act, because you have already seen what provisions are there. You know what the act is and why it was enacted, and the history behind the law. And apart from that, to my knowledge, you have also discussed the redressal mechanism, that when a complaint comes to the IC, then what is the procedure which IC follows. So these things you already know. So what I would be doing is I would be concentrating on the deeper understanding of the act, because there are a lot of things which we need to interpret and understand. you have an upcoming session on the landmark judgments also, I believe. So there also you will learn a lot about all this. But nevertheless, let me just take through uh, the various nuances of the POSH Act, which is often, misinterpreted, and where at least I have come across incidents where people get confused. So during the course, I would be explaining some of my practical experiences, which in fact has enriched me to understand the act better. So I feel that at the end of the session, I will be able to make you also a part of the learning process of which I am as well. Okay, so let me begin. Now, you already know that the POSH Act, you know the full name of the act. So basically, it is an act to provide protection against sexual harassment of women at their place of work. So this is something very important, because this act speaks only about sexual harassment of whom? Of a woman, where? At their workplace. We are not concerned about any other kind of harassment. This act specifically deals only and only with sexual harassment. And since this is a woman centric law, so the complainant in this case can only be a woman. And we have to make sure that this kind of sexual harassment which is happening to a woman is happening at their place of work. So I'll be explaining all these with illustrations as well. And along with that, the act looks forward to what? It looks forward to preventing sexual harassment, and it tries to prohibit sexual harassment, as well as it tries to redress the complaints of sexual harassment and any other matter which is connected therewith or incidental thereto. So if you understand the name of the act, it itself tells what it is all about. So the act is about the protection of women against sexual harassment at workplace, prevention, prohibition, and redressal act. So you have already, the concept of sexual harassment has been discussed. What is quid pro quo harassment? What is hostile environment? All that has been discussed. Who is an aggrieved woman? That has also been discussed. And you have also gone through the redressal mechanism. That what is the redressal mechanism in case there's a complaint of sexual harassment? Now, the act is applicable to the whole of India, and it applies to all establishments, irrespective of the number of employees, the gender of employees, what kind of industry it is, where is its place of operation, and what is the legal status of the establishment. So basically, the thing is that many a times a question comes up that there's a confusion regarding the concept of employee. So the act has given us a very broad definition of employee. The act clearly mentions that an employee does not only mean a full-time employee, an employee who is working as a full-time employee, but any other person, even an ad hoc, even a trainee, even a volunteer. So every person who is working in that place will be deemed to be an employee. So, as you already know, since you have already gone through the redressal mechanism, that how a POSH complaint is handled. So, there you must be knowing that the Act mandates that in every workplace where there are 10 or more than 10 employees, you have to have an IC, or an internal committee, as we call it. And where there are less than 10 employees, in that case, the complainant may approach the LC or the local committee. Again, a question often comes up that in my organization, there are no female employees. So do I need to set up a POSH committee? Is it essential that I set up an ICA? So the answer is again, yes. irrespective of the gender of the employees, you have to set up a committee. The reason being that, say your employees are going somewhere else, they're going to other vendor places, or say some woman is coming to the office for some work and there she gets harassed. So in that case, she will if she files a complaint, then or if even if she the rule is that, say in an establishment there are male employees only and a female has come to that establishment and she faces sexual harassment, she will complain in her parent organization, and the parent organization will send the complaint to the respondents IC. So that is why it is very important that we have an IC in every organization which has more than 10 employees, and the gender of the employees is immaterial. Same goes for the industry. We'll come to that when I explain the concept of workplace and extended workplace. And even in, the place of operation, even if a foreign entity has an office in India, they have to abide by the Indian laws. So this is also a common question which I face, that in case of a company which is a foreign company, and and the employees are working online in India, so in that case, will POSH law be applicable? The answer is yes, the POSH law will be applicable. And whatever be the status of the establishment, whether it be a company, whether it be a partnership, whether it be a firm, and interestingly, your household also comes under the act, because this is the only act where domestic helps have been recognized, as employees. So if your domestic help is coming at your house, and if you are misbehaving with her, and which she deems to be harassment of a sexual nature, then in that case, she's free to file a complaint to the LC, because in your household, of course, there is no IC. So in that case, she can go and file a complaint to the LC. So this is the inner understanding of the act, that how the act is applicable, how we apply the POSH Act. Now moving forward, our parent act is the Prevention of Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act 2013. But only reading the act will not give us the desired interpretation or the desired results in certain cases. So it is important we have three other rules and regulations which have to be read, or which we need to know. The first one is, of course, Prevention of Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace, Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Rules 2013. Now, here I would like to mention that the POSH Act itself does not mention about the punishment to be given to a perpetrator. It is the rules which have those provisions. So that is why it is important that we read the Act along with the rules. It is very important. Again, we have the UGC regulations and we have the AICTE regulations. Now, UGC regulations are applicable to all women employees and students in higher education institutes. So any institute which is governed by the UGC, those institutions have to comply by the UGC regulations. So whenever there is a confusion that if the UGC regulations are not able to answer our queries, then we look at the Parent Act and the rules. And the main feature of the UGC regulations and the AICTE regulations, which make it different from the Parent Act, is that under the UGC and AICTE regulations, even there is no gender of the student mentioned. A student is a student. So in a college or in a university or any other institute which is imparting technical education, so in those institutes, even a male or a transgender can file a complaint, unlike in case of the Parent Act, which is totally women centric. So in educational institutions governed by the UGC, the AICTE. You have to remember that even women employees, meaning the teaching and the non-teaching staff, they can file a complaint. And the students, the gender of the students is immaterial. So even a male or a transgender complaint against their any other person who is harassing them sexually. This we have to understand, because this act and the regulations only deal with sexual harassment and not any other kind of harassment. There may be different kinds of harassment. There may be workplace harassment, or somebody might feel that the working hours are such that the person is not comfortable, but despite request, the shift is not being changed, hours is not being made flexible, or things like that. So those things are not sexual harassment. We have to keep it in mind that whenever we get a complaint, or whenever we are dealing with a case of sexual harassment, we have to understand whether there is sexual harassment or not. I'll explain what it is. I'll give you some examples. So you already know by now that what does the POSH Act talk about sexual harassment. So it says that if a woman worker suffers from any physical contact or advances, if she faces any kind of demand or request for sexual favors, or if sexually colored remarks are directed against her, if she is shown of sexual nature. I'll give this it may not be possible for us to remember it always. So, for your convenience, I have divided into three categories. So, if you look at these three categories, you can remember it very vividly, that the three categories are physical, verbal, and online. So, physical means when somebody is touching someone. So, there is an unwelcome physical contact. This is very important to understand. Unwelcome physical contact. Somebody, and that person is say. So please don't insist on shaking hands or giving a hug. It may be very common in some countries that they give a peck on your cheek. So it is very common there. But in our country, it is not a common practice. Whenever we meet somebody, our most common gesture is a namaste. So if somebody insists on a handshake and you don't feel comfortable with that touch, so that would be unwelcome physical contact. And unwelcome gestures, there may be various kinds of gestures, somebody throwing a flying case, or somebody winking his eyes, or twitching his eyebrows. Making some kind of gestures where you can make out the person is trying to make some kind of the sexual connotation. Next, we have verbal. So when we are talking about verbal, it may be a suggestive joke or comment, or it may be a sexually colored remark, or it may be maligning others. So when we have suggestive jokes or comments, there may be some indirect comment on somebody, like calling somebody Sunny Leone. Her character is like Sunny Leone. If somebody says that, a girl, in most cases, she will not take it in a welcome manner. She will not like it. For example, again, somebody calls a person working in the media industry sexy. She will not mind that. But if a professor or somebody in some other profession is addressed like that, she might not like it. So, such remarks are called sexually colored remarks. And even maligning others, talking about somebody's sexual orientation, sex life, all these are verbal sexual harassment. And these days, the most prominent one is online. The online sexual harassment is the most common these days, where offensive emails are like more of a formal nature. People don't, I mean, nowadays we send mails only when we have some very serious discussion going on. Otherwise, mostly we use, apps like WhatsApp, SMS in the sense WhatsApp, and we have different social networking sites, as well as if somebody is showing some kind of pornographic clips in any way, or some, caricature or cartoon, could be anything, trolling somebody on social networking sites, making some comments of a sexual nature. So all this will be covered in online sexual harassment. Apart from that, just like now we are having an online session, we are having an online session on POSH. There are, I mean, work from home options going on at the moment, after pandemic, during and after the pandemic. So if anybody during a Zoom meeting, or during any kind of any app, Google Meet, WebEx, anything. So during those meetings also, if somebody is harassed in any way, so in that case, it can be deemed to be, or it is rather deemed to be, sexual harassment. So online is, it is very rampant now, because people stalk. If they want to stalk, they will stalk you everywhere, whether it be on Facebook, whether it be on even on LinkedIn. Trust me, even on LinkedIn we got cases like that. So nothing is safe basically. So, and online is something which is very rampant. Okay. So when we are talking about harassment, it may be in the form of some kind of discrimination, and there is workplace harassment and sexual harassment, which all amount to misconduct. So it is a misconduct. If anybody is found to behave in any such manner, the act clearly mandates it to be a misconduct, and action may be taken against that person. Okay, let me now see. I have a video to explain this thing, that to make it more easier for you to understand. But I don't know whether it will play here or not, because at times, let me see if it plays. Is the video visible?
वीडियो विजिबल, ऑडियो नहीं आ रहा है.
Or there's nothing much in the audio. It's just a
Okay,
music.
okay. Yeah, no,
Uh, the video is enough. I mean, what all it is
Yeah.
conveying. Okay, so this is what it is like. Sexual harassment is something which may be isolated, which may be sporadic, but if it is the impact which matters, what you are thinking, what you are saying, that is immaterial. What impact it is having on the individual, that is more important. It is always a subjective experience, we say. And as we know that act is uh, applicable only to a woman, and only a woman can complain under the act. And as I've already told you, that in relation to a dwelling place or house, a woman of any age who is employed in such a dwelling place or house is also can also be a complainant under the act. Again, you know that the aggrieved woman, she may be working, she may be visiting a place. So even if a person who is coming for an interview, and if she feels that she is being sexually harassed, she can also lodge a complaint. A student, a domestic worker, or a temporary, or a regular, or a ad hoc worker, some person who is working with wages or voluntarily, contractual, trainee, apprentice, somebody who is working directly or through agent. I mean, the entire workforce is taken into consideration when we are talking about an aggrieved woman. Because I repeat, only a woman can file a complaint under this act. So another question which has come up many a times, that can a woman file a case of POSH against another woman? So the answer is, the Calcutta High Court had given a judgment in 2020 in Malavika Bhattacharjee versus Internal Complaints Committee, Vivekananda College and others. There it was made clear that a woman can file a POSH complaint against another woman. So the answer is yes. Though this is a high court judgment, but nevertheless, this judgment has been followed in another Kerala High Court judgment very recently. So the picture is very clear that the act in section 2 clause M, it uses the word person. So it the complainant has to be a woman. That is mandatory because we are talking about an aggrieved woman. So the complainant has to be a woman, but the respondent could be a man, could be a woman, or could be a transgender, could be anybody. So she can file a complaint against anybody. Now, once I went for a session to an organization, and there I was asked that a woman employee had filed a complaint that while logging out, they have a biometric system in their office, and while logging out, something happened of which she does not know, but she got a mail that her biometric was not recorded, and there was some abusive language used. So in that case, it was not the company, they spoke to the system manager, and it was not clear that who is the respondent here. So in cases we do not understand if there was a technical glitch because of which it happened, or the situation is not clear. In that case, the respondent cannot be an artificial person, because it is talking about a person, and till now we have no law relating to artificial intelligence or things like that. So that is why whenever we are talking about a POSH complaint, we generally say that the complainant has to be a woman, and the respondent could be a man, could be a woman, or could be a third gender, anybody. Okay, now moving ahead, as I've said, the Act is applicable to every kind of workplace, whether it be government, semi-government, PSUs, any corporation, institute, any private sector organization. I've already mentioned any foreign company having its office in India, and even not having its office in India, hospitals or nursing homes, sports institute, or any place visited by an employee arising out of or during employment, and a dwelling place or house. Now, here it is very important to understand this concept of workplace, because most of the times the concept is that when we are talking about workplace, we usually mean the four walls of the premises where we are going to work. Wherever we are going to work, that is my workplace. But the Act talks of a notional idea of a workplace, and it talks of an extended workplace. So this extended workplace could include transportation if it is provided by the employer, company guest houses, hotel stay during official travel, client place. But you have to remember that it should arise and in the course of employment. Now, for example, there may be a situation where a woman, she goes out for dinner with some colleague after her office hours, and there she is harassed by that employee. In that case, she has gone on a personal invitation. The company is not sponsoring it. The organization has got nothing to do with it. In that case, it cannot be deemed to be her workplace. But if it is a company sponsored event, or even if it is a say, even if a picnic is organized by the organization and every employee is asked to join that, or there is a special screening of a movie and in the movie hall somebody harasses somebody, all those will come in the concept of workplace. Because whenever the employer is insisting the employees, or whenever the employer is kind of, you can say, sponsoring any kind of organizational event, that will be deemed as workplace. So similarly, whenever an online meeting is convened and there is a formal notification from the organization about it, and there if anybody is harassed, that will be deemed to that person's workplace. A very interesting case once came up. A woman, we always, I mean, at least I always insist wherever I go and speak on this, that please check your background. There was an incident where a man was working just like I am now sitting and I am deliberating. So a man was sitting, so he was not aware about what was going at the background. So some elderly member of the family was not wearing anything on the upper part, and he was just wearing some shorts, and he was moving around in the room. So somebody felt that, I mean, she felt that it was harassment because she was doing her or attending her official meeting, and the sight was very disturbing. So she went ahead and made a complaint, though no major action was taken against the employee because he did not do anything. He was properly dressed up, but nevertheless, because she felt harassed because of the background, so we at least henceforth it was he was just left off with a warning that please check your background, or you sit somewhere that people do not move around. And nowadays in many of the apps you have this option also, that you change the background and you set the background so that even if there is any commotion going on in your house, in that case that will not affect your work. So these things also happen. Now, moving ahead, uh, as I've told that the Act takes into account every kind of employee, whether full-time, temporary, contract, daily wage, trainees, interns, housekeeping, security, client representatives, vendor representatives. I once there was an incident regarding housekeeping. So what happened was that the manager, he spoke to the housekeeping staff in a very casual language, which is where the housekeeping was talking about her household problems to the manager, and there was nobody in the office. And where the incident took place, there was no CCTV coverage also. And the housekeeping staff, she later on complained that he tried to molest her. So the case came to the IC, and after retrieving the CCTV footage, the not only the video, the audio was also extracted by the IC, and there it was noticed that there were some kind of words which were used by the manager, which was not of a professional nature. So he was terminated because that organization had a zero tolerance policy. He was terminated for the same. So there are incidents where client representatives also, they may visit the office, and if they face any kind of harassment, this is also one thing I want to point out, that if, say, like this housekeeping incident which I mentioned here, the man was working in a company, he was in the organized sector, and the housekeeping staff, she was outsourced from some other organization. So in this case, the rule is that, the law is that, the the housekeeping staff, she went and complained to her IC, because she is an employee of that organization. She has only been outsourced by the company where the incident took place. So she will go and file a complaint to her IC, and that IC will forward the complaint. First of all, they will see that whether there has been an incident of sexual harassment. Only then they will forward the complaint to the IC of the respondent. The IC of the respondent will go ahead with the inquiry. Whether it be conciliation, whether it be inquiry, you have already gone through the redressal mechanism. So it is a norm, it is clearly written in the Act that in case of any complaint where the complainant is from some other organization, they are not working in the same organization, then in that case, she will complain to her IC. The IC will forward the complaint to the IC of the respondent, and the IC of the respondent will go ahead with the inquiry or conciliation, whatever. There is no concept of joint inquiry. Many a times I have faced this question that can we have a joint inquiry? The not mandate anything like this. The Act specifically mentions that only the respondents' organizations IC will go ahead with the inquiry. Whether it be conciliatory, the procedure is to be done by the respondents' IC. Yes, we can take the assistance, or the respondents' IC can take the assistance of the complainants' IC, because there may be some details, there may be some information which only they can give. So in that case, they may be kept in the loop, but there is no such concept as joint inquiry. Okay. So now let me give you some examples of sexual harassment. This is not an exhaustive list, of course, but these are some examples which are often found. So if somebody is staring at someone, leering, making some kind of sound, making some obscene gestures, or making kissing sounds, smacking lips, so all these are sexual harassment. So somebody is showing someone sexually obscene or suggestive signs, some objects or pictures, making indecent comments or dirty jokes or comments on a woman's dress or body. So you cannot comment on a woman's dress or body also. Once I remember a friend of mine who works in a MNC here. So he, just out of affection towards a junior colleague, he just told her that why don't you do something about your weight? You're putting on so much weight. He just said that. She was so offended. She first went and reported that to the director of the organization. So, and she said that if he repeats it again, I'll go and file a complaint to the IC. So the director called my friend and she told him that you have to be very careful. You may be, you might have said that to her out of, concern that being too overweight is not good for health, but she has not taken it in that sense, and she feels that she is being body shamed. So that was a lesson he learned, and henceforth he has never commented on anybody. He's so scared that even at times he does not like what his wife is wearing. He keeps quiet. He has become so conscious about it. So this is something which I think we all have to be very careful about, that we cannot talk about anybody's body, anybody's dressing sense or anything if we do not like it. Yes, if she is wearing something which is not in the office norms, within the office norms or office decorum, that is something different. Like there was another case where a woman, she was wearing something. Her manager called her and said in front of everybody, oh my god, how much salary do you get? So she was shocked that why am I asked this question, why am I being asked this question? So then her manager said that you wear clothes which appear to be bought either from some second hand market, chor bazaar, or from the footpath. So she felt very insulted and she came and filed a complaint to the IC. things. So we have to keep in mind that we cannot, if there is a dress code mentioned, then if that is violated, that is something different. We can make the person understand, but otherwise we cannot make a comment like this, that why don't you wear branded clothes, why don't you wear branded shoes, you get so much salary, what do you do with your money, and things like that. So there was another case where a woman, while she was leaving office, she was applying a little bit lipstick. So some colleague, some female colleague came and she asked her, किसके लिए इतना सज धज रही हो? So she was just taken aback. So her colleague said, किसके कैसे घर जाओगी? Husband आएगा लेने, तुम तो married हो ना? So she said, no, I will take a rapido. So then her colleague said, oh, you're going on a date with a Rapido guy. Acha, acha. And she started laughing, and then everybody in the office was laughing. So this is something very derogatory. So comments of these kind, they cannot be entertained and they fall under the ambit of sexual harassment. And apart from that, you have touching, petting, caressing, kissing, brushing against another's body, blocking, following, cornering. So if somebody is being blocked wherever she is being followed everywhere, I mean, people will realize, that if somebody is looking at them, anywhere you look, you will find somebody's eyes at you always. So anything of that kind, that all will come within the ambit of sexual harassment. And apart from that, referring somebody as high or making innuendos. So once I got to hear, a very interesting incident of an innuendo. Innuendo is like when you don't say something directly, but you say something indirectly. So here in this case, what happened was that a student, she approached the IC saying that some professor from whom she was taking private tuitions, he had said something there, but the repercussion came to the institution also. So what happened was that she was for some reason late in paying the fees. So she went to the teacher and she told him कि सर इस महीने पापा की सैलरी थोड़ी लेट होगी तो मैं आपको 2 एक दिन बाद फीस दे दूंगी. So he said, हाँ हाँ कोई बात नहीं है, देर से दे देना, तब तक रोज मुझे एक कुत्ते का पिल्ला चाहिए. And she was shocked. देखा पिल्ला मांग लिया तो बहुत महंगा होता है. It's very expensive. So, and she was like thinking, and every time when she came across him in the college corridors also, he would just smirk and say, अरे तुमने तो मुझे दिया ही नहीं पिल्ला, तुमने तो मुझे पिल्ला दिया ही नहीं. And she kept on wondering, and then it struck her, he was talking of a puppy. मुझे हर दिन एक पप्पी चाहिए. So this is clear sexual harassment. Now again, the question arose that he had made that kind of remark in his coaching center. So can it be taken up by the IC? The answer is yes. If it would have happened there and finished there, then we had nothing to say. But if it, because he was repeating those words again and again in the college also, which is of course a workplace for both of them, so that is why the complaint was taken and appropriate action taken. So there are people who make work discussion sound sexual. That is also there, telling sexual jokes or stories and asking about sexual fantasies, spreading lies of sexual nature. So once there was an incident where a professor used to text his students and students of first semester, say 17-18-year-old girls, and he was on the verge of retirement, almost 62 63. He used to ask them, what are you wearing, what is the color of that, and please sing for me, say you have this special paper of which I only said the questions, I'll help you with that. So he was trying to, so it was a case of quid pro quo harassment. So anything of that kind, that also is sexual harassment. So winking, licking lips, and touching a person's clothing, stalking, and the ultimate is, of course, physical assault and rape. What happened in the Kolkata RG medical college incident where the young female doctor was PG intern. She was physically assaulted and raped. But unfortunately, nobody is talking about this aspect of sexual harassment much. That there is not much discussion on the POSH Act applicable in that place, and how she was brutally killed, and how much pain she had to suffer before her death. So this is about sexual harassment. Now we'll just I would like you to respond to the questions which I would be asking, because it is all based on whatever we have discussed so far. Okay. So now someone in office tells you, you are looking beautiful today. Is it sexual harassment? What do you think? Yes, anybody would like to respond? Yes, anybody? So in office, if somebody is asking you, you're looking beautiful, it is sexual harassment? Okay. So majority says no. Yes, right. If it is an occasional compliment, if it is an occasional compliment, I repeat. Yes, Mona Shri, you have said yes. I'm coming to it. I'll explain it. So if it is so that she is feeling it to be unwelcome, or say somebody occasionally tells you that you're looking nice today, you will take it as a compliment. But if somebody every day tells you, oh, your dress is so nice, your nails are so well maintained, and things like that, where you understand that the person is repeating that to impress you. And then at times, he might also say, oh, you're not wearing that color today, you should wear that color. You will look even prettier. So, in that case, if she feels uncomfortable, then in that case, it will, of course, be a case of sexual harassment. So, per se, we will say no, that an occasional compliment is never harassment. Somebody might find you to be beautiful on a particular day, but if somebody, keeps on commenting every day and talks something which you might not like it, then in that case, okay, Preeti Naresh is asking something that it is gone. I'll questions again at the end of the session. Don't worry. Okay. So now coming back to the next one, is expressing your concern for someone wrong? Yes, if you are expressing your concern for someone, is that wrong? I'll give you an example. Okay. So if it is so that if a person, say there was an incident where the woman, she was undergoing some kind of infertility treatment. Okay. See, she was undergoing some kind of infertility treatment, and when she went to submit some of the bills of her treatment for reimbursement by the organization, the person who was to collect those and process those, he kept on asking, what is it, how it happens, you went to which doctor, what medicines did he give, oh, why did you have to opt for this, and why don't you go for IVF, what happens so he was asking and telling about many things which you should not have asked or commented upon. So here it is the intention versus impact thing which comes upon, that perhaps that person, he did not have any intention of hurting her, but she was not feeling comfortable. So it is the impact which matters always, and I've told you, it is a subjective experience. If she is feeling uncomfortable with your concern, then in that case it is wrong. An occasional asking somebody, what problem are you having, is something, but then having a hour long discussion and then giving your views and explaining something very explicitly, that could be something which could amount to sexual harassment. So intention versus impact is very important, as many of you have written. Okay. Now, is expressing your love for someone sexual harassment? Yes. You love somebody, expressing your love is sexual harassment. We are talking only about workplace here. Okay, we are not talking about what is happening outside. We are talking only about workplace. Okay, so I get answer impact again, of course. Yes, okay. Uh, if done in the proper way, no. Okay. And unless it is uncomfortable to the person, yes. Okay. So what we get is that here in this case, so you are free to express your love. Okay, fine. You are expressing your love. But she says no. Okay. She does not like it. She does not like it and she says no. Please don't insist again and again and again, which often happens. Like we get plenty of such incidents in the workplace. Say in a workplace, somebody is expressing or saying in a way that I like you. There are incidents like that also, that where a person, she was a trainee and she was working under somebody, and then he said that I like talking to you and spending time with you. She was okay with it. But later on, he would ask her, तुम इससे क्यों बात कर रही थी, तुम उससे क्यों बात कर रही थी, तुम आज कितने बजे निकलोगी, चलो ना एक मूवी देखने चलते हैं. सो इफ इट क्रॉसेस द लिमिट एंड ही सेज मैं तुमसे प्यार करता हूँ इसलिए बोल रहा हूँ. अरे भाई, मैं तो तुमसे प्यार नहीं करती हूँ, क्यों तुम बार बार बोल रहे हो. सो इफ इट गोज ऑन इन अ repetitive manner which she does not like, which she does not approve, then of course it will be sexual harassment. So if a female colleague says no, you have to remember, no means no. You cannot insist and keep on telling her that please, please, thoda to soch lo, and pester her with, bombing her with WhatsApp texts, or, bombing her with compliments on Facebook or Instagram and things like that. So anything you do of that kind, it will amount to sexual harassment if it is not consensual. There may be incidents where, say, both of them were coming together and they were having their lunch together, they were going for a movie together, but after a certain point of time, if she felt uncomfortable because she felt that he was, crossing his limit, he was not acting as a mere colleague, but was trying to be something more. So in that case, if she does not approve it, then in that case, there is no consensual relationship, and the moment she stops reciprocating, you have to understand and you have to restrain yourself, refrain yourself, and not insist for her attention or keep on pestering her. So that would clearly amount to sexual harassment. Okay. Now, if there is a gender discrimination and there are sexist remarks, so in that case, will it be sexual harassment? If some sexist remark is made, yes, of course. Yes, this goes without saying. I think this was discussed in the first session only, the first day of the program only. You got the answer to this, that if there is any kind of gender discrimination, because many a times it happens, that there is some work which anyone can do, irrespective of gender. But there is a thought process in the mind of the employer, यार लड़की को मत रखो, या लड़की को भेजेंगे तो उसमें फिर उस कुछ हो गया तो उसको लेके हमको बहुत कुछ बोलना पड़ेगा. So it is like that, so this kind of gender discrimination, it exists in workplace, very much exists in workplace, and sexist remarks are also made. So those cannot in any case be entertained, and they are of course incidents of sexual harassment. Okay, now moving ahead, one more. Is shouting sexual harassment? You shout at somebody, is it sexual harassment? No, yes. Mona also says no. Bharti says no. Sadap says no. Pooja, Upasna, uh, Upasna says depends. Yes, yes, okay. Yes, Ruby ma'am says yes. Nisha says yes. Okay. So here again, the thing is that shouting per se is not sexual harassment. Shouting per se, say there is some meeting going on and there is an exchange of words, say there is some disagreement between people who are sitting there, and for example, say a male colleague, he shouts at the female colleague, no, you have to listen to me, what I'm saying is right. If he says that, it is not sexual harassment. But if he shouts and uses any word which is a sexist remark, okay, there is a very common thing, whenever a woman drives a car on the road, she has to, face many kind of such remark. Yeah. Yes, or if there is a traffic jam, the driver will invariably say, यार कोई लड़की आगे गाड़ी चला रही है, तो लड़कियों को तो गाड़ी चलाना आता ही नहीं है. सो अगर वो आदमी चिल्ला के कोई ऐसा कमेंट करे, देन इट विल बी सेक्सिस्ट रिमार्क करे. जब आता नहीं है तो क्यों गाड़ी लेके आप निकल रही है, आपको पार्किंग नहीं कर, this respect women, they take it as a sexual remark, and that result in sexual harassment. But again, per se, shouting per se is not sexual harassment because there is no sexual connotations. Again, gossip. What about office gossip? What do you think about that? Office gossip. Office gossip, टॉकिंग अबाउट समबडी कैसे कपड़े पहन के आती है, क्या पता नहीं लिपस्टिक लगाती है. सो विल दैट बी सेक्सुअल हैरेसमेंट? Yes, yes, yes. Office gossip, if it relates again to her appearance, or if relates to her sexual preference or things like that, then of course it will be yes. I'll just discuss a small incident with you here. There was a woman. She was from a vernacular background. She did not have a very strong English base, but she was working in the office because whatever English was required for her work, she was conversant with that. She was good at that. So one day she went and asked somebody something, and her colleagues, they laughed at her and said, तुझे देख के तो किसी को orgasm हो जाएगा. And poor girl, she did not know the meaning. She did not know the meaning. The whole office was giggling and laughing, and she was, asking everybody, what does it mean? What does it mean? Then somebody told her, why don't you look on Google what it means? So when she checked Google, she was shocked that somebody could make such a derogatory comment, and rest of the office the colleagues, instead of talking on her behalf, they were laughing at her, they were making fun of her. I mean, the way. And then she said that there were always such gossips about her because her English was poor. And when we asked the person who had made who was a person who made that kind of remark, and then everybody followed suit, he said, no, no, it was just a slip of tongue. I wanted to say organization, but I said orgasm. So the question of the IC was, can you relate these two words? I mean, by no stretch of imagination, these are two similar words. So you're talking that looking at her, somebody will have an orgasm. And so we interpret, if you're saying that it was a slip of tongue, so you want to say that looking at you, people will have an organization. I mean, it is not making any sense. It is just not making any sense. So these things actually happen at the workplace. Whatever incidents, whatever examples I am giving, all those I have handled, or the complaint had come to the IC. So these are all real life incidents which have happened relating to sexual harassment. So these kind of gossip. So in this case, the person who had uttered those disrespectful words, he was of course terminated, and all others who were laughing, giggling, who were sitting, and who were not responding and not helping her, they were all given a strict warning that in case such a thing happens again in the floor, strict action would be taken, and they were also asked to contribute to the CSR activities of the organization. So this was what the IC did in this case. So I can see somebody has written, so pathetic. Yes, so pathetic. I mean, no, there is no care. These are cases, which the IC handles. You have gone through the redressal mechanism. So IC has to maintain the confidentiality. We cannot name the organization or the name of the parties or anything, but for your understanding, I'm just taking these as illustrations or examples. Okay. Now, there is also one confusion, one question which I often face, which is relating to IC. So basically, the POSH Act, because many a times you might have also seen that in my slides also, there are places or there are incidents where I have mentioned ICC or IC. Now you understand one thing. I have told you that the act is not to be read in isolation, because if there is a case which relates to the higher educational institute or relating to a technical or management institute, in those cases, we have to revert to the UGC regulations and the AICTE regulations. Okay. So internal committee, initially when the act was enacted, the committee was called Internal Complaints Committee or ICC. But later on in 2016, an amendment was made, and it was said that henceforth we will be using the word internal committee and local committee wherever the POSH Act is applicable. Wherever the POSH Act is applicable, save any private organization, any government office, there we will use the word IC. And local complaints committee was also renamed as LC, local committee. But the UGC and AICTE, they still use the words ICC or Internal Complaints Committee. And the organization of the ICC is also different from IC. Am I able to explain this? That in case of POSH Act, the slide which you have in front of you is that of the POSH Act. Okay. The POSH Act mandates that there has to be a presiding officer who has to be a woman. There have to be 2 members from amongst the employees, and there has to be one external member or independent member who has to be familiar with issues of sexual harassment, or she has to be from, or he has to be from an NGO. But in the UGC and AICTE, when it talks about internal complaints committee, there is a little difference in the composition. There also you have a presiding officer who has to be the senior most woman, professor, and it is always preferable to have an associate, somebody of the rank of associate professor. If not available, then of course assistant professor. But the regulation, 2015 regulation UGC and 2016 regulation of AICTE, they mention of a presiding officer. And apart from that, there have to be 2 teaching staff, 2 non-teaching staff. Okay. And if and in the ICC, if the matter pertains to the students, there have to be 3 student members also. The students are also included in the ICC, and you have one external member again, like the POSH Act. So the only difference is that in case of the IC, there are 2 members from employees who have experience in social work or have some kind of legal experience. In case of internal complaints committee constituted under the UG regulations or under the AICTE regulations, there are 2 teaching staff, 2 non-teaching staff, and 3 student members. So common feature in both is presiding officer and an independent member. Here I have to explain one thing again, because here again there is a confusion many a times. When we are talking about this independent member or external member, people tend to consider that the person has to be from some NGO. And once it happened that somebody got a person from some animal NGO, and that poor lady, she had no knowledge as to what is sexual harassment. She did not know anything. And the role of an external member is very important, because many a times there are organizations who may not be very conversant with the rules, with the regulations, with the laws, with the judgments. So in that case, the external member plays a very important role to, make people understand as to what things कैसे क्या होता है? The external member plays a very important role in this. So we have to understand the act says that the person could be from an NGO. It is talking about an NGO which deals with women related issues. Okay, because there are various NGOs working on various areas. Say there's an NGO working on environmental issues. Can a member of that NGO understand what is sexual harassment and what is not sexual harassment? Isn't it? So person who is the external member, that person must be somebody who is familiar with the issues of sexual harassment. This is very important, and most of the government departments or the private organizations, they make a mistake of finding, oh, we have to find a NGO member. You won't believe, I was just filling up the form of the gender audit of UGC. Unfortunately, UGC has also mentioned name of NGO member. Why NGO member? External member is the proper term which is to be used. So external member is a person who could be from some NGO, could be somebody from the legal background, could be somebody who is aware of issues. The main criteria is that the person should be familiar or well versed with the issues of sexual harassment. And again, one more thing, no oral complaint is to be entertained by, will ever be entertained by the IC. The IC or the ICC, I'll use the word IC only because we are putting stress on the act. So if a complaint comes to the IC will not entertain any kind of verbal complaint. Verbal complaint, IC won't take. Always it has to be in writing. So when when the IC is receiving the complaint, they have to first see what is the date, because you know that the complaint has to be filed within 90 days from when the event took place. Second is whether there is a working relation, and there can be no anonymous complaint. Okay, we always stress on the, I just mentioned, you will say that you are debating with yourself only. Just now you said you cannot name cases or things like that. Then why are you saying that in the complaint it cannot be an anonymous case? Because the complainant and the respondent's name, if we do not know, the IC does not know, how can action be taken? So it is very important. It is kept absolutely confidential, and but the names have to be mentioned. Otherwise, I told you, I gave you an example that somebody got a random mail from somewhere where it is not understood that who sent the mail, whether it was a system error or not. We cannot ask that robot to come and or the computer to come and defend itself or show cause that robot. So in that case, it is very important that we name the parties, the name of the parties are mentioned, the time is mentioned, and a description of the event, the incident is also there, because it is very important that in case of a complaint of sexual harassment, we have to remember three things. First, whether there is sexual harassment or not. I've told you, not every harassment is sexual harassment. So IC will entertain only those complaints, or LC, whatever. So they will entertain only complaints which have an element of sexual harassment. Number two, whether there is a working relation. And three, whether there is a workplace involved. So if something happens to a woman while she is coming to work, she cannot come, something which happened on a public transport to her, she cannot complain to the IC. So if a random person harasses her, then there are relevant provisions in the BNS. You have already discussed it in the first 2 days. I'm not going into it. So, but main thing which I want to say is that whenever there is a complaint, the complaint has always to be in writing. No oral complaint will be entertained. So complaint can be filed by whom and against whom. So as I told you, that complaint can be filed under the POSH Act only by a woman, and it can be filed against any employee, whether the person is permanent, temporary, contract, dealer, visitor, customer, housekeeping, canteen staff, anybody. And I have told you that the complaint can be filed irrespective of gender and position. So there is a notion, or there is also a thinking that it is always that somebody in the upper hierarchy harasses a person who is lower in the hierarchy. The reverse may also happen. So in any case, the reverse is happening. It is not that a woman cannot complain. She is always open to file a complaint in case of any kind of sexual harassment which she faces. And uh, we are at the end only, that what is not sexual harassment, which I have been saying again and again. What does not constitute sexual harassment? So if you're following up on work absences, you've given somebody some work and the person is not turning up to work, not coming and talking to you about the progress of the work, and she is reprimanded for that. That is not sexual harassment. Normal exercise of management rights. So if you have not applied for leave properly and you remain absent for a number of days, in that case, if some kind of action is taken against you following the company policy, then in that case, it is not sexual harassment. Something relating to the working conditions, say the AC is not working, or say the washroom is not clean. So if you have some complaints relating to that, that is not sexual harassment. So requiring performance to job standards. So now, if you see, when we are doing some kind of work, or we have been appointed to do some kind of work, there is some standard of that work which we are required to perform. So a peon's work is not as same as a system developer's work, or in a government office, a group D staff and a group A staff, their work is not similar. So if they are not working properly, or if their performance is not up to the standard which is expected of them, and because of that they are being asked, and they are being asked to give an explanation to this, then in that case it is not sexual harassment. And even if there is a constructive feedback, so many a times the constructive feedback is not taken in a positive manner by many, and they take it as an incident of sexual harassment. There are many incidents. So all these things do not constitute sexual harassment. So for sexual harassment, there has to be a sexual element there. The sexual element, I have given you some illustrations, and you have already gone through the quid pro quo aspect and hostile work environment aspect, that how these things happen, and how these things amount to sexual harassment at workplace. So what we have to remember is that we have to behave responsibly with our colleagues. We have to know the difference between professional and personal comments. We cannot make, however, friendly relation we have with our colleagues. We have to remember that we cannot, we have a boundary which we have to remember. And you have, be responsible in your comments and responses on your colleagues' posts on social media like Facebook. Make sure your comments do not cause discomfort to the colleague. So in group chats or email chains with colleagues, remember that your message reaches everyone in the list. So in case you make any such comment, it could cause personal discomfort, and she could go ahead and lodge a complaint. So if a colleague behaves in a manner which is unacceptable or which makes you uncomfortable, then convey it to them directly in case that is possible. If not, report it to the manager or the HR or the IC or anybody who is in the superior position where you're or your reporting authority. So even if the perpetrator is a senior person in the institute, trust the IC to handle your complaint appropriately and lodge the complaint. Because many a times people are scared that there could be retaliation. So for retaliation, people are scared to complain against a senior person in the organization. So there's no need to be scared. Always trust the IC, because they will handle it according to the law, because the IC has got the powers of a civil court. So make note of time, incident, and evidence, if any. It is very important. If a thing happens, communicate it to somebody. See, today at this time, this has happened. Because in case you need some witness, you will have somebody to speak for you. Because it might be so that there are many places where the CCTV coverage might not be there, and it will be very difficult for you to prove the case. So if someone tells you that he or she did not like the way you spoke to her or behaved with her, apologize and promise not to repeat such behavior. So if you're apologizing, make sure you do not repeat it again, because just for the sake of it, you apologize and you repeat it again. So there's no value and a complaint might be raised. So if someone files a false case against you, you can also write to the IC explaining your side. So IC will not take one-sided. It never takes one-sided decisions, because the IC always, follow the rules of natural justice. So these are the do's which you have to follow in your workplace. And what are the don'ts? The don'ts are: avoid asking your colleagues any personal questions. So if you know that person closely and entirely, and if you are sure that the person will not be uncomfortable, then only go ahead. Otherwise, never ever ask any personal question. So do not comment irresponsibly about a person's body or what they wear. I have given you an incident relating to that as well. Do not send dirty or vulgar joke to a colleague unless she or he is a close friend and you know for sure that she will not be uncomfortable with it. So we tend to share a lot of memes these days, so be very careful that what would be the impact. Do not stand too close or touch a colleague while conversing with him or her. That shall put that person to discomfort. So this is something which you have to keep in mind. And do not laugh and ignore or approve of any joke that you do not like and that makes you feel uncomfortable. So this is very important that you speak out and you express that you do not like it. And now, in fact, in the last couple of sessions which I'm doing, I'm putting a lot of stress on the role of bystanders, because it often happens that in an office we can see that somebody is being continuously heckled. We understand, but nobody is ready to stand beside that person. So that is what we are putting a lot of stress on, that until and unless your colleagues support you and they stand beside you, it becomes very difficult for a woman to fight it alone and prove the case, because many a times there might not be CCTV footage, there might not be direct evidence, not direct witnesses of any kind. So that is why now we are putting a lot of stress on the role of bystanders, because we'll just not sit and watch and giggle and gossip. Our task is to make a person who is not aware of the law, to make that person aware. In fact, I remember in the inaugural session, Professor Shanta Kumar had also said this, that there's no dearth of law, but it is the awareness, the sensitization which is lacking. So we have to work on that very much, because we have to let people know that there is a law and you can go to the IC or the LC or the police, as the case may be. So basically, 5 steps have to be kept in mind. First, create and implement an anti-sexual harassment policy. Every organization must have an anti-sexual harassment policy or a POSH policy. An internal committee is to be constituted and they have to be necessary trainings so that they function efficiently. Employee awareness and assistance, and posters and notices. We always say, put this posters, put this notices, put send these flyers through mail, that people keep on knowing that what the law is, because many judgments have come which have changed the notion of understanding the law. And there is a statutory annual report filing under the law as well, which has to be done. And so all these things have to be complied with for implementing the POSH Act in any workplace. But the most important one is, as the slide says, roses are red, some flags are too. A safe workplace begins with you. So all of us, we have a role to play, and we should speak out if we witness any kind of sexual harassment in our workplace. Thank you. So questions and taking now. I'm sorry, Kalpesh sir, I took a little more time than you gave me. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
Nevertheless, we have 8 minutes, I believe, to answer any question if anybody has any question.
Yes, ma'am. I think in the meantime, I'll take one question from the chat box, which is from Dr. Veer. He's asking, is the POSH Act applicable to a better if a better is a female?
Uh, Okay, the question is whether, okay, so here in this case, if there is a person, if I told you that somebody is saying something and the other person is giggling and laughing and not explaining that thing to you, so that person is equally at fault, and the person can be named as the respondent only, that respondent number one, respondent number two. So it is up to the IC whether they take it as an abettor, or they take it, that person as a wrongdoer altogether. So it depends on that particular situation and how the complaint has been filed. But nevertheless, wherever, in fact, there have been incidents where, say, in the complaint, the woman had not named any person, but during the course of inquiry, many persons' name came up. So we felt necessary we should call those persons also, and we have to inquire. And if we felt that that person was at fault, then of course in the recommendations we of course mentioned that what is to be done to that person as well, even though that person's name was not expressly mentioned in the complaint. Hope that that makes the situation clear. Yes.
We can take
Next
a
one. What is
yes, sir.
somebody is asking, these acts are applicable for university and college level. Yes, acts, I won't say acts. The act is very much applicable to a university and a college, but in that case, we have to follow the UGC regulations. We have the UGC regulations, and in case of engineering, management, or any other technical institute, we have to follow the AICT regulations along with the act. Okay.
Madam, we'll take up
So,
last question.
yeah.
Madam, if a woman employee start receiving anonymous gift at the workplace from someone within an organization, so it's a very peculiar one. I hope you like it. It will become
Kalpe sir,
example
I can't
next.
listen to you.
Sorry, am I audible?
Yes,
Uh,
sir. We can hear you.
I mean, the sound is very, I can't hear properly.
Actually, ma'am, sir is saying that I think it's already 8:25. So I think we will take one more question and then I
आवाज
think
आ
we
रही
can
है
close.
अमित? Am
Okay,
I
हाँ सर
okay.
आ
audible?
रही है. Perfect.
मैडम
अब आ
आवाज आ
रही
रही
है सर, अब आ रही है, अब सुनाई दे
Okay,
रही है. हाँ, हाँ.
okay, sorry. Okay, there is one
Ma'am,
question
एक
like one woman employee receives anonymous gifts from anyone constantly. So it will be good example for your next session, I would say. Please answer what to do. Very easily consider or
So if
not.
somebody is sending anonymous gifts and you're not able to locate, enjoy the gifts. But if you come to know who is sending it, file a complaint. But for the time being, enjoy the gifts. If you do not know who is sending them.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Over to you, Amit.
Yes, thank you so much, ma'am. It was really a wonderful session, and there were so many case studies, examples that you gave. It gave us a fresh perspective and insights from your experience that you shared today, ma'am. So thank you so much once again, ma'am. And I also thank the participants for participating greatly in this session. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you
let me
so
tell you,
much.
all the participant, the second edition is going on far better than last one. So that I can see it's a good thing, and because of participants also, they are very much interested in this particular topic.
Yes,
So it's
yes,
good.
that I
Thank
can
you.
also make out, because last year didn't get so many questions. This time I'm getting such interesting questions to answer. Yes,
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Sure, sure. Thank you very much.
thank you. Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Amit, and thank you, participant, for joining. See you tomorrow.